Okay, good morning to all of you on the West Coast, and good afternoon to all of you on the East Coast. It is Gary Morris from the DLC Group of Companies and your host of the Level Up podcast. To say I'm excited today about our upcoming guest would be an understatement. Mr. Harvey Mackay has been somebody who I have personally followed for more than 30 years now. I know in sort of 1988, the first book I read of Harvey's, which was, I believe, his first book, was How to Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive, had a incredible impact on my business journey and how I went forward. And I followed him ever since. I want to just first off walk through Harvey's bio for you. Harvey Mackay has sold 10 million books in 52 languages and 80 countries. He has written 7 New York Times bestsellers, 3 of which have hit #1, including Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. 2 of his books were named by the New York Times among the best 15 motivational business books of all time. He is also a nationally syndicated columnist, and his weekly articles appear in more than 100 newspapers across the country with a circulation of more than 10 million readers. Harvey speaks once a week somewhere in the world to a Fortune 1000 company or its equivalent and has done so for 30 years. He was also voted by Toastmasters International as one of the top 5 speakers in the world, along with likes like Tony Robbins. He is also the founder and chairman of the $100 million Mackay Envelope Company. The American Management Association listed Harvey among the top 30 leaders who influenced business in 2014, which also included Colin Powell, Jack Welch, and Sir Richard Branson. In 2015, Forbes said Harvey Mackay is one of the world's top leadership experts who has accomplished more in business than most entrepreneurs could achieve in their lifetime. And with that, Harvey Mackay is with us today. Harvey, good morning. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today.
Gary, thank you so much. The minute I penned this on my calendar, I've been excited, looking forward to being with you.
Harvey, I can't tell you how many times over the years and mutual friends, other speakers, podcasters, world-renowned people, your name has come up. I can't tell you how much of an influence you have been in my life. And I truly mean that. And you've been the mentors to thousands and thousands over the years. And here you are, you continue to give back and you're always going, the extra mile. So I wanted to really, really thank you for being here today. A couple of things I want to say to all of our viewers. I see the comments coming in right now. Guys, we're going to be giving away 50 of Harvey's new book. You haven't hit your peak yet, right? We're really, really excited about giving this away. All you have to do is make a comment, reach out online. The podcast tag, the hashtag for this series is Level Up Like Harvey. Level Up Like Harvey. So guys, please tag me, please tag Harvey. Please use all social media channels. I think what we're going to go over today, and to have someone like Harvey sharing his insight over all of these years, is going to be absolutely tremendous. So thank you again, Harvey. We're going to jump right in. Harvey, you said over the years, that practice, or you've heard the saying over the years, practice makes perfect, right? You say not true. What do you mean by that?
Well, you're spot on there. It's wrong. Practice makes perfect. You got to add one word, perfect. Practice makes perfect. Practice something time and time again. And if you're doing the wrong thing, you've made an error and you put a ceiling on how good you can become. Example, there's a lot of golfers out there. You can play golf 8 days a week. You can practice 8 days a week. But if you've got a loop in your swing, what are you doing? You're perfecting an error. You've put a ceiling on how good you can become. So it's very, very important, okay, that you practice the right concepts without question. Now, I've had a lot of coaches in my life, and I'm a firm believer in coaches because I want to practice the right thing. So over my lifetime, and I probably still have about 70 to 80% of these coaches, okay? I've got a personal trainer, and I've got a speech coach, and I have a foreign language coach. I've studied Russian, Chinese, Japanese, and Arabic. I've had a humor coach. I've got a marathon coach, lucky enough to run 10 marathons in the Bostons and the New York marathons. I've got an idea coach over and above that, a golf coach, a tennis coach, a swimming coach, dancing, coach, thanks to my wife, Carol Ann. I have a memory coach out in New York. I've got an internet coach, a social media coach. Now, why do I have all these coaches? Because whatever my God-given talent is, whatever my God-given potential is, that's it. I can't do any better. I'll have a project. I'll make a time and action calendar, right, as to when and how it gets done. And then I'll go out and find the best people, not in the United States sometimes, but the best people in the world, okay, obviously including Canada, and I do. And then, okay, I'm practicing the right concepts. I learn it. I try my guts out. I leave it all out on the playing field. Bingo, guess what? I don't worry. I don't have anything else to worry about. I can't do any better. All it is out there is trying your guts out, leaving it all out there on the playing field. And again, I don't worry. And why should I worry? Because over a lifetime, if you happen to do that, you will really perform at a higher level and take your business, okay, to a higher level. So that's very, very important, without question.
You know, that's really remarkable. It's funny. I've been saying to people for so many years, the best investment you can make is in yourself. And, you know, it's amazing that you brought in so many experts over the years to dial up your game, and you're still doing it. It's incredible, Harvey. Just thank you so much for sharing that. Harvey, one of the things that, you know, I think is synonymous with you, and this is what, you know, really in the early days sort of impacted me, was your ability to network, right? Like you figured out, you know, the unexpected emotional connections, you know, how to really build, you know, sort of raving fans and build these deep relationships over the years. And it's funny because I read your book and I'll never forget it. And I said to you when we spoke last week that I think this was probably the best networking book, right, that was ever written. And it was Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty, the only networking book you'll ever need. Why is networking so crucial to business success?
Well, a little add-on is that I'm so proud that it's in 100 universities around the United States. Wow. You do well. Yeah. And again, the only networking book you ever need. Well, if I had to share the single characteristic, okay, by all the truly successful people I have met over a lifetime, I'd say it's the ability to create and nurture a network of contacts. Very, very important. Hey, you can take all my money from me. Take all my factories from me. Take all my plants from me. Take all my people, my employees. But leave me my network, and I'll be back to where I was today in 3 to 5 years. Brief story maybe on networking. My father headed the Associated Press 30 years in St. Paul in Minneapolis, the Twin Cities. Got a hold of me age 18. And he said, Harvey, all right, I want you to keep a Rolodex. Every person you meet the rest of your life, assuming you want to keep in touch with them, goes into that Rolodex file. A little bit about them on the back of the card. And now here's the key. All right, find a creative, underline, creative way to keep in touch. That's what I've been doing ever since I was 18 years of age. So again, very succinctly, very briefly, all right, I write Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. I want to get published. I get one of the best publishers in the world, William Morrow and Company, at that particular time. I have a summit meeting with them. And remember, in those days, okay, many decades ago, if you're a first-time unknown author, they would print 10,000 hardcover books. That's it. No more. So summit meeting, CEO, president, VP national sales, go in for the meeting. Now remember, I'm a first-time unknown author from the flyover state of Minnesota. I want to get published. 30 minutes into the meeting, I say, I'd like you to seriously consider printing 100,000 hardcover copies, Swim with the Sharks. We're on the 30th floor. They told me to jump. All of a sudden, you know, I looked, in fact, the sales manager just screamed at me. He said, who are you? Think you can come in here and get 100,000, but never print more than 10,000. So I brought 2 humongous briefcases in, took out 2 huge Rolodex files, 6 1,500 names since my father got a hold of me, age 21 or 18, even a little bit earlier. Started to go through them. Pillsbury, General Mills, there's 3M, 30,000 employees. Here's Carlson Company, 40,000. Here's Cargill, 50,000. Maybe they'll read the book. Maybe they'll pass it around. Maybe it'll be a bestseller. Then I went to France, Germany, Spain, and my other Rolodex. Okay, maybe it'll be an international bestseller. 3 weeks, 3 meetings later, they printed 100,000 hardcover copies, Swim with the Sharks. Our lives basically change in 2 ways. People we meet and the books we read. And again, then just one last aside, I had World War III with them again because I want to be the first one ever. I'm not sure what that was. Money back guaranteed. Money back guaranteed if you don't like Swim with Sharks. Took 3 weeks. I prevailed. Sold 5 million books the first year. And 17 people asked for their money back. 7 of them were my best friends.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's incredible. I mean, it's funny because it's just, we work so hard in business to build relationships, and we chase, the new client, and then so many people get in the habit. They chase them. They enter into, a short-term relationship. They complete the transaction, and then they never call them again. And I've always thought it's the biggest miss ever. So the foundation of that, and this is, something I alluded to earlier, was something called the Mackay 66. And it's impossible to talk about networking without discussing the Mackay 66 customer profile, the absolute cornerstone of your life's work. The Mackay 66 certainly helped my career and changed my life. I can tell you, I've used it or a part of it for many, many years. Our company still, uses it today. A lot of our presidents and our organizations use it as a foundation. Can you tell us about the Mackay 66 and explain what it is and the impact?
Well, the gist of it is, and of life, people don't care how much you know about them once they realize how much you care about them. And we invented many, many, many years ago, all right, a new product. As you might have guessed, it's not an envelope. It's that 66 question customer profile we require all of our salespeople to fill out. You wouldn't believe how much we know about our customers. IRS wouldn't believe how much we know about our customers. And I'm not talking about their taste in envelopes either. We want to know based on true confession and true understanding, true digging down. Okay, what a customer is like as a human being, what he or she feels strongly about, what he's most proud of having achieved, what are his, hanging on the wall, what does he care about? That's what we want to know. So we wind up CAT scanning and we wind up MRIing, okay, the people that we call on. We'll know everything, all those questions you just said. 5 answers better than 3, 10 are better than 5, 30 are better than 20. Question number 66 on the form. Does your competitor have more and better answers to the above questions than you do? No, it's just a concept, philosophy tool. Doesn't answer all the questions, but dramatically increases the probability you will get the business over a long period of time.
Yeah, it's absolutely remarkable. And it should be noted that not only do they use this questionnaire, this summary with their clients, but they use it for their staff and their suppliers. And it's everyone's job and you've since brought in a partner, I think, but in Mackay, in the envelope company, you've made it everyone's job over a series of many interactions, just daily interactions with these customers, to make it part of your job to add something to the Mackay 66, to add in. You just don't all of a sudden send out this 66 questionnaire form and say, please fill it out. You collect it through casual conversation over an extended period of time. Is that correct? Spot on. Certainly correct. Yeah. And then what happens, is, anytime there's something that happens in, a customer or a client or a supplier's life, and it's impactful, maybe their son has, broken his leg or something, and they hear about it or they see it on social media, they can go on there and they can go, oh God, I know that their team is New York Jets. And maybe Harvey knows someone through his database in the New York Jets, and he can have that jersey signed and couriered out. We're going to talk about creative gifts and making those unexpected emotional connections. But, Harvey literally, and I promise you, is the first guy that I've ever seen, and I've studied personal development for so many years. He was the grandfather, right, of doing this early on. It is incredible. So
another just real quickie example would be because of the 66, and it has changed my whole life. And again, if I had to prioritize, it's right there, of course, at the top. But I was calling on the biggest account in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Fortune 500. All of our listeners here on the Zoom, they have heard of this company. Huge user of envelopes. 3 years they wouldn't buy from me. One day I made a pit stop, and his secretary, comes out. I knew her, had done a 66 on her, and she tips me off that his 12-year-old son got hit by a car riding a bicycle. He's in Abbott Northwestern Hospital, downtown Minneapolis. Bingo, goes right off. Hey, I know that his father, who I'm calling on, teaches his basketball team, 6th grade. And so I go down and I go to the Timberwolves basketball NBA, and I get 10 people to sign a basketball, ship the basketball to the hospital, little notes to the kid. $10 million, not a typo, $10 million later in envelope business. Little things mean a lot. That's not true. Again, little things mean everything.
It's incredible. What a fascinating story. And it just bodes exactly to what you said. It's about, it's not, they care about how much you care about them, right? That's the foundation. And yeah, what a lovely story. Thank you. Harvey, maybe talk to me about reciprocity. Tell me about reciprocity without keeping score, I think is the key.
Yeah, surely. And every question you ask me, I want to say this is the most important of all. But I think I can, reciprocity without keeping score. I think I can say maybe this is numero uno, okay, among all that I'm going to bring up, the lessons and what we can learn, okay, from other people as well as ourselves, whether books. Okay, so here we go. I say, hi, how do you do? I'm introduced. This is what I've been practicing all my life. Okay, hi, Gary. And
hi, Harvey, how are you?
Sure. The minute I meet anyone new, most of my life, okay, it goes right here to my brain bank. And what do I say to myself? What can I do for Gary? What can I do for Gary? And so what's really important, and there are maybe 5 or 10% of the people in the country and in the world, okay, that practice that. What can I do for you? It will change your life all by itself. But now what I did is I took it a step further, and that I added, expect nothing in return.
Right.
So no matter who does what for me, reciprocity without keeping score. No, you do not keep score. A very salient point, and that's my philosophy. How can I better your life?
Yeah.
How can I improve it? And I do that every day.
I love that analogy. It's just like, something that, you've heard said many times from smart people. It's going the extra mile without expecting anything in return, and, doing something hard to do when nobody's watching, because it's really easy to do something when somebody's watching, you're getting accolades and, oh my God, you're so kind, you're so generous, but it's when you're doing it when nobody's watching, when it's most important. Yeah, absolutely incredible.
Absolutely right.
Harvey, I want to talk to you about,
without question.
Yeah, thank you. I want to talk to you about, I'm going to just keep going down our list, because I just want to say to everyone here, Harvey has been doing this at the most senior level for more than 30 years. He has got thousands of hours of interviews and studying the very, very best in the world. I mean, the information that Harvey is sharing with us today is absolutely extraordinary. And it's so important, guys, that we actually drink this all in and find ways to immediately implement some of this stuff. So I'm going to continue to go through my list, because I want to make sure we get it. Integrity is a word that everyone says, and but I know you have for years and years sung the virtues of being a stickler for integrity and just no situational ethics. What is your philosophy around integrity?
Yes, and before I answer that question, maybe I could tell our audience, okay, that my goal every time I hear a speaker, okay, or read a book, is to get a couple of ideas that you can use the rest of your life. That's a heck of a speech. That's a heck of a book. And that's my goal every single time. And I call that take home value. I mean, my goal before I came on is to get, okay, our beautiful audience to use some of these concepts tomorrow morning and over and over and over again. Knowledge does not become power until it's used. Ideas without action are worthless. So now let's, you want to speak about integrity. I have to say this is number one. This is the finest story I happen to like. Okay, in my 30 years that I've been out there in the marketplace, maybe 35. But I call it always act like your mother is watching. So this is we're talking about again ethics. There's been a consistent gradual decline in the United States for about the last 50 years, from my perspective, and I think it's reached new extremes lately. Okay, every institution that can be measured, unfortunately, the arrow is going the wrong way. From senators to congressmen to state legislators, religious institutions, business leaders, sports heroes, students cheating in college, and many, many more. And so, therefore, this is the story. Allow me to just share it with you, an example of ethics. A mother was invited for dinner at her son Brian's apartment. During the course of the meal, Brian's mother couldn't help but notice how beautiful Brian's roommate Jennifer was. Brian's mom had long suspected a relationship between Brian and Jennifer. Over the course of the evening, while watching the two interact, she started to wonder if there were more between them than met the eye. Reading his mom's thoughts, Brian volunteered, "Hey, Mom, I know what you must be thinking, but I assure you, Jennifer and I, we're just roommates." About a week later, Jennifer came to Brian saying, "Ever since your mother came to dinner, I've been unable to find that beautiful silver gravy ladle. You don't suppose she took it, do you?" "Well, I doubt it," Brian said, "but hey, I'll send her an email just to be sure." So he wrote, "Dear Mom, I'm not saying that you did take the gravy ladle, and I'm not saying that you did not take the gravy ladle, but the fact remains that one has been missing ever since you were here for dinner. Love, Brian." Several days later, Brian received an email back from his mother. "Dear son, I'm not saying that you do sleep with Jennifer, and I'm not saying that you do not sleep with Jennifer. But the fact remains that if Jennifer had been sleeping in her own bed, she would have found the ladle by now."
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Love, Mom. So, moral of the story, if you have integrity, nothing else matters. If you don't have integrity, nothing else matters.
And I love the quote that you said, "Always act like your mother is watching." That is so powerful. That is such a guiding light. So, Harvey, you are incredibly creative, right? Creativity, I've heard you speak several times. And the first lesson you always talk about is of creativity. Why do you think creativity is so important?
Well, without question, I won't go on to say this is my number one, but I do love it. First of all, every listener out there has to know there is no correlation between IQ and creativity. Every person out there can become more creative than ever, ever, ever before, without question. So let's just talk about, you go out to business, you have a meeting, you have a dinner, a breakfast, you're playing golf with the client, he or she. Boring. I mean, if you're boring, if you're predictable, I say that all the time to my sales force. Don't be boring. Don't be predictable. Okay. Be a differentiator. So you have to come up with all these creative ideas. And that's what I've been doing all of my life. Back to my father again, we used to call it the icebox rather than the refrigerator. He'd have all these sayings and all these ideas that would come out of the set every day. That's all. They'd be on the car, on the dashboard. They'll be when you're shaving, the 9 yards. So let me just let me just pass on a tip, if I may, to everyone. I think they can use tomorrow morning, and I think they should use it the rest of their life. And let's call it maybe 2 tips. So one of them would be what I do. Incidentally, the definition of a secret is when one person knows. So it's no longer going to be a secret. But when I get a key account, someone's really important to me, I give them the name, I'm your 911. I'm your 911. You can't believe how those people over a period of many, many, many years always say, I want to speak to Mr. 911. Or they think about it that you're Mr. 911, which is just so very wonderful. I just can't begin to tell you. That's one thing they can start. That's really creative. That's not being boring, as you well know. So mark that down. Then here's the 450-foot home run in the 9th inning, 7th game, World Series. Okay? You have a very good client, he or she, and they call up on the phone on your screen, and you answer. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Repeat. The answer is yes. I want to tell you, you want every client to think that they are the only client that you have. So very, very important.
Harvey, I'm gonna show
their socks off.
Unbelievable. I'm gonna show you something. And I didn't know who was who germinated that idea for me. And I bet you hearing that was you. Let me show you. I'm gonna turn my camera around. Let me show you something that I put on my wall when I started this company 16 years ago.
Wow.
You can see that? Yes, I got a sign. YES.
Yes.
That was the first thing that I ever put on my wall 16 years ago. And it was find a way to say yes. And it is so enlightening to hear you say that. And I bet you I picked up sort of that belief all those many, many years ago, reading and listening to you. That's absolutely incredible. Thank you for that.
Well, very good. Very good. Shared vision and shared answers and everything. Well, I wish I would have said this, but I didn't. Robert Frost said, the mind is a wonderful organ. Starts working the moment you get up in the morning, it doesn't stop till you get to the office. So if you've analyzed kind of all the things I've said there so far, think big, think bold, think creative, think stretch, think quantum leaps, always think becoming a differentiator, think vision, think speed, think customize, think focus, think flexible. Sometimes it's risky not to take a risk. Or if you walk backwards, you'll never stub your toe. Let's just go back to vision for just a second. Helen Keller, totally blind, 6 months, brilliant author, brilliant lecturer, cum laude graduate, Radcliffe College. She's making a speech on a college campus. Time for Q&A. Mean spirited questionnaire, back of the room. Asked her, tell me, Ms. Keller, is losing your eyesight the worst thing in the world that can happen to anyone? No, she said, it's losing your vision. See, eyesight is what we see in front of us. Vision all the way down the road.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Remarkable. I want to jump back. I had a point here that I missed that I wanted to ask you about, and it all ties in. I mean, so far we talked about, the practice, the networking, the Mackay 66, reciprocity, integrity. It's all under the foundation of leadership. And whether we realize it or not, we're all leading, right? Every single day we do, some much better than others. I'd love to hear your thoughts on leadership. And the question I have for you, are leaders born, or are they developed and made?
Well, I can tell you, there'll be a lot of arguments on this, but again, I'm entitled to my opinion. Unequivocally, leaders are not born. Leaders are made. If you have a deep down burning desire, and focused, all right, to become a leader, then you can become a leader. And one of the ways you do it is just self-help books and reading and watching on television, and especially going around with leaders. When I ran my 10 marathons, I hung out with marathoners all the time. and all of a sudden becomes a part of you. So leaders are the same thing. I could go to the Google right now, and every single positive word, consistent and courage, okay, on and on and on, down every row, name every single word, and guess what? That would be a leader. All right. But what's really important here is that you have to understand that every single leader is different. No two leaders are the same. And therefore, Lou Holtz, example again, my closest friend, a fabulous leader. Okay, one of the greatest college football coaches that ever lived, for those of you in Canada that may have heard of him, Notre Dame, 11 years, and I could go on and on and on about his bio. But he's not only that, he's the number one speaker in the world, according to the Washington Speakers Bureau. And they represent Margaret Thatcher and Gorbachev and all of them. Number one in the world, 15 years in a row.
Wow.
So he's a very talented leader. We're joined at the hip.
Yeah.
I happen to know him for 35 years. We speak every other day for 35 years. And just one brief story, okay, because you have to be knowledgeable. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to be able to teach it. How did he teach those players? Well, in high school, he weighed 128 pounds. He was so skinny he could tread water in a test tube, right? And he didn't make the team. But then he's creative again. And so he rolls into the coach and he says, I know I didn't make the team, but I could be a very valuable asset. I'll learn all 11 positions. And if someone gets hurt, he said, I'll be able to fill in just temporarily, okay, for that game, whomever got hurt, okay, in that particular position. Bingo. Coach said, yes, of course. And so he learned all 11 positions on the football field. Now he goes to all the schools that he's coached at, 5 or 6 of them, but especially at Notre Dame. I was in the locker room with him for 11 straight years. But he would go in, and let's just say the tight ends had a bad day out there. Let's say that the offensive line had a bad day. Let's say the defensive line. Anytime that happened during the year, that coach was out for 1 week. Holtz would take over that position for the week and do all the teaching he could. Wow. I mean, that's what I call a leader who really knows his P's and Q's. And then again, the integrity and the honesty, as you well know, you just have to be willing to do anything else anyone else, you ask them to do. But then one of the little secrets of leadership, and you don't find this mentioned all the time. Listening. You can't learn anything if you're doing all the talking. And so to be a great listener takes a lot of talent. Everybody in conversations, cocktail parties, you never interrupt anybody, but people do. You never tell a better story and try to top that story that's just been told. So leaders have to really, truly listen also. I could go on and on, of course, for 100 hours, but I'll be very short.
What an extraordinary opportunity for you to be best pals with Lou over all of those years. For all of our listeners on here, Lou had 249 wins. He actually led 6 different programs to championship bowl games. And obviously, one of the most highly noted schools in the nation, in the world, obviously, is Notre Dame. So thanks for sharing that. Wow. That's incredible. The number one speaker for 15 years. That's
in the
wild.
world.
In the world.
In the world. I've heard him speak well over 100 times, and no exaggeration. All right. Every single time, standing ovation.
Is he one of your pals that you golf with? Do you take him out? Do you guys golf together?
We play a lot of golf together.
Yeah.
Hundreds of rounds together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I know you're
when you play with Holtz,
yeah.
You know what you have to be thinking of? No. Second is last.
Is that right? Eh?
Boy, is he ever competitive? Woo-hoo! You can't believe it. How competitive he really is.
And well, I mean, you're obviously, for you, every sport. You just love sports, so it's fun that you can do that with a pal like that for so many years. Are you beating him once in a while, or is he beating you? Or
Well, we used to have a traveling trophy,
Yeah.
and we were close. Then he wound up with a couple injuries, car accident with his neck, and very difficult times. And so right now I do have an advantage on him. But for years,
Yeah.
it was dog eat dog, rat eat rat, and shark eat shark.
I just want to go back really quickly because I want to get to some hiring and firing and negotiations, all things that will serve really well to entrepreneurs and business owners. But you talked about Helen Keller and how, she made the comment about, the worst thing is losing your vision, not your eyesight. Why is vision so important for a business owner or someone running a corporation?
Well, it's very interesting that the American Management Association did a study. They asked 500 CEOs just a few years ago, what does it take to be successful the next 5 years? What do you have to have within your corporation? And believe it or not, 83 to 84% of them said vision. Very, very interesting. Vision. Now get this. Of the 83 or 84% said that and answered that, only approximately 12 to 15% said that their companies were doing a good job of it. So, some people will drive a car and they'll have their foot on the pedal, and all of a sudden there's a stop sign down there, and they'll make that one. They'll miss the other one. Some people with vision, are adjusting their foot on the pedal, to make all 5 stop signs. Who was it? I'm not sure. I can even remember this, but Wayne Gretzky, it's not where the puck is, it's where the puck will be. A lot of people have quoted that over many years. So you need people that can see the big picture. All right. I mean, you walk your offices, look at yourself, look at anybody who's on your team. And all of a sudden someone can be looking out the window. Hey, you know what? Guess what? As they look out the window, that's a plus, because what are they doing? They're thinking. Hardest, most valuable task any person performs is thinking. And so that's the vision going out ahead of the rest of the competition. That's why I think it's so very important. And again, you want to go around with visionaries, you'll become a person with a lot of vision. That's what I do. I don't have any negative people. I don't go around with anybody that's negative. I go around with only positive people, and it does truly, sincerely wear off on you.
I try to do the exact same thing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Let's talk about hiring, Harvey. I know you've been studying hiring for years, and we all know that the most important thing for our team is our team around us. Can you just talk to us about your philosophy around hiring?
Surely. There are approximately, pretty close, 1 million words in the English language. If everybody listening, if they don't understand this 4-letter word, you cannot be, you can't be a CEO, you can't be a president, you can't be president of college, you can't be a football coach, you can't work for a company where they got some direct reports. And of course, if you've even got a assistant or secretary, reporting to you, that's it. It's important. 4-letter word to be successful. And what is that word? HIRE. Can't make it. Hire the wrong football coach and you go, of course, right down. down. Hire the right president. I'm here calling from ASU right now and Phoenix, Arizona. They hired a president 7-8 years ago. Wow. He's taken them to the moon. Hire the right CEO, hire the right leader, go get the right person, no matter what the expertise is. So that's very important. Then in hiring, and people will disagree with me on this, and there's no problem, but I've never hired a person. We got about 450 to 500, I think, on the payroll. But in all my hiring years, all these decades, never hired a key person, a salesperson, which is really key, who I'm talking to right now, the best marketers and salespeople in all of Canada. Again, very proud of them and read a little bit about your company. Marvelous company, all right? But
thanks, Harvey.
they might not approve of this, but anytime I hire anyone, I will not hire that individual without going to talk to the spouse, assuming he or she is married. I want to meet the kids. I want to look the spouse right in the eye and say, anyone can buy an envelope machine. I'm in the envelope business, of course. Anyone can buy an envelope machine, okay? But I want to tell you, to hire a person and hire the right person is way more important, okay, than buying machinery and equipment. So I want to see the reaction of the kids. I want that spouse to know this is my biggest decision of the year. I have a little trick called the acid test of hiring. Acid test of hiring. I'll come in, I'll be in my office. I'll have 2 or 3 or 4 people waiting for an interview of a job, let's say it's salespeople. And about 10 to 15 minutes into each meeting, I will say to myself, here's the key. How would I feel if this person were working for my competitor? If you're not worried,
yeah,
that's the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
Then also just lastly, I really believe in industrial psychologists, and they don't make the decision for you. But after you interview them, you call your industrial psychologist up. I'm sending someone over, and they take the test, and interview them. And all you tell that psychologist is, here's what I'm concerned about, or here's what I'm worried about. And you refer them to that, and then they dig deep, and you'll get your answers. So they have helped me immeasurably.
Extraordinary insight. Absolutely extraordinary. Just a reminder to all our friends out there that if you're watching this on any of the live streams, any of the Facebook, any of our company agent pages, please, guys, post your comments, share. Please tag me, tag Harvey Mackay. The hashtag is level up like Harvey. We are just going to, everyone that makes a comment, we are sending you a copy of Harvey's book that we talked about right there. So we can't wait. I know I said 50, but we'll send it out to everyone who makes a comment on there, no matter how many that is. I just think this is so much gold here, guys. And it's so exciting for me to have you, Harvey. So Harvey, I'll keep down my list. On the other side, and this is a mistake that I see people make all the time. When it comes to firing, they keep someone way too long, and the person is starting to do damage, and they're not in the culture, they don't fit. What is your philosophy around firing?
Well, it isn't the people you fire who make your life miserable. It's the people you don't fire
right.
your life miserable. Wall Street Journal did a fabulous study and went out and asked hundreds and hundreds of CEOs and presidents, what's the toughest thing you have to do? And everybody, on the Zoom program here, they all know the answer. Fire another human being. Let someone go. And what's the reasons why? Well, you're in the comfort zone. You're making money. It's easy to procrastinate. Again, he or she might be a personal friend. But now we have a fellow by the name of Paul Harvey always said here in the States, here's the rest of the story. Okay. About 90% of those people, those executives said, I should have done it a lot sooner. Right. None ever said, gosh, I wish I had, Mary or Al back on the payroll. Find something you love to do. You'll never have to work a day in your life. And that's the kind of people that you want on the payroll. Now, one other thing, a little controversial. I don't care. You can disregard everything I said, but no one can talk me out of this. And that is as follows. If you ever, and there's a lot of people on the program that will have to, over a lifetime, if you ever have to fire another person, terminate someone, as long as you live, then guess what? If he or she is shocked, you are a poor manager. Agreements prevent disagreements. You can't change the rules in the middle of the game. All right. And so therefore you have to warn, teach them, let them know they're in trouble. But if you're called in and they're shocked, I repeat, you are a poor manager.
I couldn't agree more. Such great insight. So Harvey, teamwork. Obviously, you have many businesses. You speak. You're a keynote speaker. You're a New York Times bestseller. You're involved in so much. Teamwork obviously has to be a huge part of your life. What is your message around teamwork, maybe to all of our podcast listeners today?
Well, there's something much more scarce, something rare, something unusual, okay, that you can do regarding teamwork. I mean, it sounds corny, it sounds sophomoric, it sounds shopworm, it sounds ho hum, and nothing could be further from the truth. So, what is teamwork? It's a collection of diverse people who respect each other and are committed to each other's successes. And then you will slam your competitors into the pavement and you will hand them their heads. And let me just give you again a brief example of teamwork. Paul's driving a car 10 miles outside a big city, huge rainstorm, partial flood. His car gets stuck in the mud, sees a farmyard, walks the 5 minutes, raps on the door, tells the farmer his car is stuck up there on the highway. Might he be able to help? Farmer says, well, I've got a blind mule named Elmo back in the back. He says, great. They trudge Elmo a couple 100 yards through the muck and mire. Farmer hooks him up to the car and he hollers out, pull, Sam, pull. Nothing happens. Pull, Bessie, pull. Nothing happens. Pull, Jackson, pull. Nothing happens. Pull, Elmo, pull. Elmo rips and roars that car right out of the mud. And the guy is confused and perplexed. I don't understand. What did you have to call out all those names for? Look, if he didn't think he had any help, he wouldn't even try.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to go through a couple last things here, and then I want to get through some stuff, and then we're going to talk about something that was really important to you. So, Harvey, it's funny. We have more than 7,000 mortgage professionals in Canada that work under our banners, and I've always said they don't work for us. I work for them. Our job is to make their job easier. And I try to take time to stay really connected. I'm personally mentoring and coaching a team of 50 newbies. We call them newbies, new mortgage professionals. And I coach them every single week, and they're doing extraordinary things. We're making them into like absolute business assassins. And the one thing that I measure them on every week is the telephone and how many calls and how many people they're connecting with. And you and I, talked about the telephone. The phone is an awesome weapon. And I know that this is a huge strategy for you. Can you just, to those 50 who are all on this call right now, can you remind them why that is such an awesome weapon?
Well, and of course, everyone knows that there's how many billion? I think 8 billion people on the planet. All 8 billion have been affected by COVID, of course. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of winners and there's a lot of losers. And I don't think it'll ever be the same. There'll be not the same norm. There'll be a new norm. So therefore, that telephone, as well as the Zoomer, which all your people have done remarkably well, which is wonderful. That does mean a lot when you're trying to grow your business. And I'll bet when COVID happened, everybody was down in the dumps. Not everybody, but most people. When you get to a crisis, you can really find out what people believe in. So here's a couple tips that they can use tomorrow morning. And I hope they use it the rest of their life. Okay? Because I use the telephone all of the day, thousands and thousands of calls, as well as personal calls, all of my life. And so if I call up and ask for you, okay, and I get your voicemail, then what I will say, 9 out of 10 people that are listening right now, is Harvey calling, and please give me a call. Wrong. Don't ever do it again. Never leave a message because of time management, okay, because of respect, without saying, I can be reached between 3 and 5 tomorrow, 2 and 6, 8 a.m., whatever. I'll be out of the office for a day. Let them know when you can be reached. And that's so very, very important from a time management standpoint, that you're showing respect for your client who you're calling. 9 out of 10 people just say, hey, call me, or so-and-so call. Very polite, very kind, but again, not practical. When I call you, hey, Gary, how are you? It's Harvey. And you say hello. I get you on the phone. I want every person, hopefully, they'll do it as long as they live. Okay, as long as they use that telephone. All right. one thing you say as soon as you answer, Gary, is this a good time to talk? Did I catch you at a good time? My experience over half a century is that it's 1 in 5. 1 out of 5 absolutely will tell you they're just getting on an airplane, they're with their wife, sat on the dinner, happen to be with a client, myriad of reasons why. But so very, very important. Now, here's the real problem. 1 in 5 will tell you, all right, to please call back and arrange time. But there's also another person out there doesn't want to be rude, and they take the call, and they're also doing other things, and you don't get clear, unadulterated focus on that telephone. And then one other thing, if you're lucky enough, and if you don't today, maybe you will, you have someone at the office, okay, use, and I mean really use that telephone as a weapon. I'm talking about the secretary or assistant now. Here's what you do. Gary, you call Mr. Mackay in. No, yes. He said, may I tell him who's calling? You give me your name. And then she will say, oh, yes, Mr. Mackay is expecting your call. I want to tell you, again, my philosophy, I want every customer I have, which is about 300 of them, I want everyone to think, used to have 300, that they are the only customer I have. And that's a wow. Yes, he's expecting your call. I will put you through. Isn't that nice?
That's incredible. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's, it's so simple and just such great tips that are so applicable right away. Hey, Harvey, I'd like to talk to you about some examples of your gift giving. You talk about the Mackay 66 and, when you use that in this incredible Rolodex of thousands of people since or by the age of 21. As that offshoot of creativity, you have some great thoughts around the power of creative gift giving. A, why is it so important? And B, can you give us a couple of examples of some gifts that you've sent?
Yeah, I could keep you all day on that one. And this is what we teach our 27, 25 person, sales force and so forth. You can't do enough of this, okay? That's why when you're staring and looking out the window, sometimes you're thinking of how to become creative and how, again, I repeat, not to be boring and not to be predictable. But the gift that you want to give, and with all respect to the food and the desserts and the things that come that you can use up, what you want to do with your top big clients is to try, attempt, think, hardest, most valuable task any person performs. Think about some item that they will have in front of them or the house or on the desk. And every time they look at it, guess what? They think of you. Right. I mean, it's so very, very important. Larry King wrote a book. He's got friends all over the world. What can you find for Larry King? Well, I went out and found him a 10-foot pen, fountain pen. Okay, 10 feet.
Yeah, crazy.
Magnificent, beautiful. Okay, made by this fabulous company. And every time I walked in his living room, there it was, right in the living room. He was so proud of it. Every day he walks by, he thinks of it. I was mentoring a person, and I want to go in the reverse here just for a minute because this is so very important. If you go out and ask 100,000 executives all over the world why they became successful, about 90% will say they had a mentor. You cannot do it all by yourself, and that's why I'm so proud of you. Working with those persons, and 15, I think you said approximately. Yeah. So that's really important. Okay, so I mentored this fellow. He's the athletic director of a major institution, and I've got a big birthday. I don't remember which one it was. And what does he send me? He sends me a clock with gorgeous chimes. It's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about them for 20 years because every hour the chimes are unbelievable.
That's extraordinary.
That's what you call creative. We have an announcer called Ted Koppel. Some might be familiar with it, but he's one of the 5 best in the country for 20, 30 years. He's still on, beyond his peak a little bit, but he's still solid as a rock. So I get a chance to introduce him. 2,000 people, University of Minnesota. And I want to be a little creative. pick them up after the speech, take them back to the hotel, pick them up next morning, send them off. I'd come back to my office, right? And I say, dear Ted, most of us do something like this. Dear Ted, you were terrific. Everybody loved you. Hope our paths will meet again. Boring.
Yeah.
It'll go in the ash can.
Yeah.
So what did I do? Okay, I went out and found a 6-foot 5-inch tennis racket, a tennis ball the size of a podium, and I wrote him a note. I wish I could remember it all, but anyway, it was very, very clever. And guess what? Little things mean a lot. Again, not true. Little things mean everything. He went on the cover. Repeat again. Predictability and fun, boring. He went on the cover of Swim with the Sharks. And I took that signature and then ratcheted it up. Gee, Koppel thought this was a great book. Wow.
Yeah. I could listen to these stories all day long and these ideas. I mean, they're so unbelievable and so much fun. Maybe a couple last little things. And then I know, Harvey, we want to get into, you did this incredibly great program where you mentored 25 high-level executive CEOs for more than a year. So we're going to get to that in 1 second. Maybe just tell us the story quickly about Bill Bradley. For those that don't recognize that name, former U.S. Senator at the state of New Jersey, NBA All-Star, 2-time champion with the New York Knicks. I know a dear friend of Harvey's as well. Can you share with us that story that you love so much about Bill?
Yes, he was a 3-term senator, as I recall, from New Jersey. But anyway, he told this story on himself. Walked in his Philadelphia restaurant, sat down. Busboy comes up, puts a pat of butter down and a roll. Bradley says, "I'd like another pat of butter." Busboy says, "1 pat of butter to a customer, sir." Bradley says, "Don't you know who I am?" And the busboy says, "No, who?" He says, "My name's Bill Bradley. Graduated #1 in my class, Princeton University. First string, All-American, Associated Press, basketball. First round draft choice, New York Knicks. All right? Elected U.S. Senator. Elected Rhodes Scholar. Those are very impressive credentials, Mr. Bradley. But don't you know who I am?" "No, who?" "I'm the man in charge of the butter." There will always be someone in charge of the knives and the forks and the butter. And we have to be nice to everyone. It's nice to be important, but more important to be nice.
Yeah, incredible. Well, listen, I want to take the last few minutes, Harvey, and I'd love you to tell us about this story of these 25 business people that you mentored. I think it was a foundation of maybe the Mackay University. So could you please share that with us? Because I think everyone on here is going to be blown away by what they hear.
Well, I want them to listen. It's going to sound very braggadocio and very self-serving, but I want you to really listen up. Again, you can almost forget about everything I've said, but I would like your attention in the next 3 minutes approximately. Very important. You won't understand it till I get through it, but I think it involves every person in that audience. So my philosophy, which you already used in your opener, Gary, biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. I have written this out because never done this before. First time. I don't want to miss one word, and I think every one of you listening again and on the Zoom program here will admit and happy that I did write it out, so I didn't miss one single thing. So here it is, a couple minutes, that's it. So the reason why I created the Harvey Mackay Academy is to help people get the best material that I've developed over the last 60 years of helping people improve their leadership and their networking and their sales, negotiations, management skills. And so the Academy includes the following: 17 5-minute videos called the Harvey Mackay Mastery Crash Course, 12-step course, best of what I have to offer you on my salesmanship, management, leadership, and networking. 22 videos of some of the best speakers and world-class leaders like Lou Holtz, Ken Blanchard, the one-minute manager, Marilyn Carlson Nelson took her company 20 billion to 50 billion. Okay, Carlson Boganley, John Maxwell. Some of you might know him, maybe a lot of you know him. Just try to understand this. He has taught. He's number one in leadership in the entire world. Okay, and he has coached and taught 50,000 executives in 200 countries. John Gray, world famous. Of course, Jennifer Myers, you know, Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor. And then hopefully some of you have heard of Brendan Burchard, number one in the world at what he does about becoming successful. So there's also 50 90-minute teleseminars that I delivered on a variety of topics such as sales and marketing and customer service and entrepreneurship, teamwork, and more, plus all my books and handouts of my weekly national syndicated column. Again, appears in 100 newspapers around the United States in 100 cities with a circulation of more than 10 million readers and just a little bit more, all video and audio presentations. This is big. All video and audio presentations have been transcribed, okay, to provide users with a treasure trove of material to study, to mark it up, to personalize, use in meetings, business presentations. There's quizzes, and most videos and teleseminars have those. You just transcribe memes. Again, very quickly, let's just say that a person like Lou Holtz you're calling on, and of course Holtz is on there, three different programs, and they went to Notre Dame. Everybody loves him. Bingo, just push a key on your computer, 40 pages spit out, and there you've got everything in writing. So the whole program is, not the whole, but almost 80% is all, okay, beautifully developed in writing. Now, it contains well over 150 hours of learning, kind of practical business advice that schools should, but they don't, of course, teach. And I call this getting your MBA, okay, in street smarts, in the real world. So here we go. If you purchase a copy of my latest book, and they showed it on the screen already, I don't have to hold it up to you. Okay, you haven't hit your peak yet. Okay, from Amazon or, okay, anyone else where you purchase books. All right, and then you send me an email. Listen closely. Send me an email. All it is harvey@mackay.com. Repeat, Harvey@Mackay, MACKAY.com. All right. And all you do is say, "Dear Harvey, I bought the book." That's it. No proof of buying the book, just on your word, integrity. "Harvey, I bought the book." Then I will send you free access, no charge, gratis. Okay, what these people paid $150,000 for, it's all yours forever to use in the study and take your game to the next level. Now, what's your cost? Well, $16 hardcover, $16 hardcover US dollars. So keep in mind that the Harvey Mackay Academy can be shared. This is another biggie, okay, with coworkers, family members, friends, and of course, obviously, your key customers. So it's a lifetime opportunity to improve yourself and others, of course. You always want to grow your family, you want to grow the people in your company, you want to grow your customers. Hey, you're not going to lose when you can pass on something like this. And then, well, again, braggadocio and self-serving, but I'm sorry. This will change your life. Without question, this will change your life. Many of you remember this Zoom meeting, I predict 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now. And remember, it not only delivers money, it delivers happiness. This counts so much, so very much. So I salute and applaud Gary. He's a heck of a negotiator. This is what he accomplished. He handed me my head. He slammed me in the pavement. But probability-wise, I may never do this again. I've never done it before. So there's a deadline, of course. That's at the end of the week. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's the end of the week. Something happened on my computer. That's the deadline. End of the week. Okay, that's what I have to.
Yeah, Harv, let me just jump in on that. And first off, I mean, I just can't believe how insightful and your stories. It's just been such a treat, and I cannot believe your generosity. Listen, for all of you on this program today, I have always said for many years, the absolute best investment that you can ever make is in yourself. And I was telling Harvey before this call, I have 220 hours of my favorite podcasters, all my favorite, people that I've listened to over the years. Harvey is on many of them. To get his 150-hour library of his best over a 60-year, sort of professional lifetime, 30 years, more than 30 years since his first book. Harvey, I will use every minute of those 150 hours personally. Anyone on here who I said we're going to send a book, all you got to do is when Tara contacts you on these contacts, we will send you Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty instead of the book that we held up, so that you go online and actually buy Harvey's book. This is his newest book. It's out. He wants, obviously, to see the numbers. Guys, are you kidding me? Right? Harvey, I can't even believe it that you would even say to us that you would give us your entire library. I don't know if you guys know this, but a big part of how Harvey developed this library is he charged 25 individuals, did a 12-month program. As he said, these CEOs and executives and leaders, they paid $150,000 for that program. And as he was building that program, he had so many of these speakers come in, and he pulled so much of his material from the past and brought it in there. I mean, this is extraordinary. And I want you to know, Harvey, from the bottom of my heart personally, how unbelievably grateful I am for this. And listen, if there's ever anything, I'm going to think really hard and really creative to do something very special for you, because you've done something very special for all of us.
Well, I sincerely appreciate those very kind words.
Yeah. It's thank you, and they're so true. Listen, the last thing I'll wind up with, guys. You saw the Facebook, right? Level Up, like Harvey. Please, guys, make a comment on social media, tag it. I'd like to see you out there. Best Level Up podcast ever today, Harvey Mackay. Right? I'd like to see that. Please tag me in that. Incredibly important, Harvey. So we'll stick around for a minute after we wrap here. But on behalf of all kinds of Canadians on the live feed, the Canadian mortgage and finance space, all of our brokers, a lot of them across Canada, and our competitors, thank you so much for being a remarkable guest, for being so kind, so gracious, so elegant, and so generous with all of your knowledge and all of your sharing. I hope we can do it sometime. I could sit and I could listen to you for hours. There was a comment that just said, could you imagine if Harvey was your grandfather? Could you imagine how extraordinarily lucky you would be? And I think we all feel that way today. So thank you, Harvey. I want to thank our sponsor on the program, First National Financial, a great partner to us, in an industry leader in the Canadian mortgage and finance space. Stephen, Scotty, Jason, the whole gang there, and your entire remarkable team. Thanks, guys, for being so incredible to all of us over all of these years.
Well, you are the best of the best, and I just loved every minute of this program.
Well, I appreciate it. I just can't wait to go online, order my book, and download this 150 hours. I mean, literally, I'll be starting that probably as soon as this evening. So thank you, Harvey, for being so sincere. The last thing I'll say, guys, before I go, Todd Duncan, we're bringing a half-day seminar June 8th, half day with Todd Duncan, arguably one of the very best mortgage trainers in the world. You've seen Todd before. I brought him last year for 3 days for the entire Canadian mortgage space. We're bringing him back, no cost to any of you this year, guys. As always, the most important thing for us is for you to all, turn that light on, get that ignition to that personal development. If you're better, we're all better. Our customers are better served. Thank you, guys, on behalf of DLC, the entire group, the management team. Thank you for tuning in today. We are so grateful. Harv, we'll stick on for another minute. With that, I'll sign off. And thank you very much, gang.
Bye-bye.